Thanks, Camille, and thanks for all the witnesses for coming in. Sorry for missing the first part of it as well. I was actually at another event. Just a number of questions, I suppose. Very first of all, in relation to Vote B in the estates management, I'm aware from speaking with my own colleagues as well that the OPW has 2 houses on the Spa Road in the Phoenix Park, and the question I would give to that is, my understanding from reading through parliamentary questions from my colleague Deputy Eoghan Kelly, that the 2 properties at the Phoenix Park were used from 2010. One of them was used from 2010 to September 2015, or 2025, and one of them was used from 2018 to 2025. Can the witnesses give an indication of who occupied both of those homes?
Thank you, Deputy. Those are 2 adjoining houses on Spa Road, as you mentioned, which is in the Phoenix Park. One was occupied by one of our employees for the period you've mentioned there, 2010 to currently, effectively. The other property was leased to An Garda Síochána from the period 2017 to 2025 as well.
And in that work from 2017, 2018, the remedial works, how much was spent by the OPW on that property?
In relation to the works on that property, they were carried out before 2017, Deputy. They were carried out, I think, over the period 2015 or 16, in advance of anyone taking up residence in that property, and there were those works. We have an ongoing programme of works in the Phoenix Park, and all those lodges. So
just I would say, in relation to the parliamentary question that was given to Deputy Kelly on the 30th of September 2025, it was under refurbishment during 2017 and 2018 and was used for residential purposes from 18 to 25. So the work in 2017 to 2018, referenced here in the parliamentary question, the refurbishment works, how much did that cost?
It cost, I think, in the region of 400,000, Deputy.
400,000?
Yeah, and that included some substantial works in terms of re-roofing and bringing the house up to specifications. And
it was leased on Garda Síochána.
Yeah, but the works weren't done in preparation for leasing to An Garda Síochána. I want to emphasise that. The works were done because it was part of the programme of work we're doing in upgrading properties in the Phoenix Park. It was after that then the works were completed that we were approached by An Garda Síochána, but they weren't done in contemplation of getting the house ready for any particular leaseholder.
And did you have an idea at the time when you were doing the works? Obviously you're saying now An Garda Síochána didn't approach you until the work was completed.
Correct.
Did you have it at the time of 2017? So you can just clarify, was that work, that was 2017, 2018, that work?
That's my understanding, Deputy.
Yep. Okay, so it's not 2015, 2016, as you'd said.
Sometimes these works are going to planning and procurement and all that sort of thing, which would have started in advance of...
The answer in the parliamentary question is correct in relation to 2017?
I think that would have been in terms of construction, but there would have been works in terms of plans and designs and all that type of stuff.
So in 2017, 2018, when the work was being completed, obviously you didn't know An Garda Síochána were going to approach you. What was your intention with the... Obviously it was part of a programme for works. Was there an intention behind...
Well, as with the adjoining property, which is occupied by one of our now retired employees, but was a former employee of the office, those residents at the Phoenix Park, our policy is to have them for our own staff that work in what is a very, very large estate. And our policy then would have been to get those properties ready. And that's our ongoing policy, to have them ready for occupancy by our own staff.
So when it was leased on Garda Síochána then in 2018, were you made aware of who was going to be using the house?
They approached us, and from a security perspective, I need to be careful what I say, but they approached us looking for accommodation that would have a certain amount of security for the occupant of that house.
Can you name the occupant?
The occupant was the former commissioner.
Very good. And in relation to the occupant himself, was the occupant paying rent?
As I understand it, the rent came to us from An Garda Síochána, and it was a market rent.
So An Garda Síochána were paying the rent?
That's my understanding. And Kathleen, can you clarify that?
Yes, that's my understanding also, Deputy.
So the Garda Commissioner wasn't paying his rent personally?
I think the arrangements with us was with An Garda Síochána.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So I suppose it's a question for An Garda Síochána on whether or not the Garda Commissioner was paying rent to An Garda Síochána, who then in turn passed it on to yourselves. That wouldn't be a question for yourselves.
No.
Okay. And in relation to the rent that you were receiving from 2018 to 2025, how much was that?
It was a market valuation on the rent back in 2018, and that's the rent that was paid. So it's in the region, I think, of 21,000 a year.
Okay. And the market value of that, of course, would have changed, like with the significant houses across the country as well. Did that rent change during those 7 years?
No, it stayed the same.
Stayed the same. Was it ever your intention to do another market research on that?
That should be our policy, Deputy, but that rent was stayed in place for the term he was there.
Why wasn't your policy implemented so in relation to that house?
That I'm not clear on, Deputy. It should have been done. I'm not clear on why it wasn't done.
So it wasn't done. So there's people right across this country whose rents are increasing on a yearly basis, and someone who's on upwards of €260,000 a year, their rent didn't increase.
I think the rent arrangements between the guards and the Commissioner for the guards.
Absolutely, yeah. But the rent between yourselves and the Gardaí is in relation to yourselves. The fact that you didn't ask for more rent.
I accept that there should have been a review clause built into that.
Have you learned from that?
I think in terms of all properties in the Phoenix Park, we are putting in place a process where we review rents on an ongoing basis, Deputy.
Do you believe the public purse was affected by this, and considering that we could have taken in far more money during that period of time?
Well, a market rent was set, Deputy.
Market rent was set in 2018.
Yeah.
Market rent would have been far different.
There is a issue on the review. I'm not sure what that would have given rise to in terms of additional rent. It is a property which is in a certain part of the park, so the market rent on that, I'm not sure what we would have handed out.
Like, I suppose the question would be posed, and the question would be posed by public who might be watching this. What does this say about the OPW, considering that, you know, there's policy set, they didn't follow through with the policy?
I accept that rents that we charge, and most rents we charge, are for our own employees, and they're charged on certain different bases depending on the work they do. Some are rent-free, some are reduced rents because of the nature of the work, whether they're keyholes or providing security and all that type of stuff. I do accept that we should have an ongoing process of review of our rents going forward.
In relation to the security costs on the site itself, were the OPW paying the security costs, or were An Garda Síochána?
We weren't.
You weren't?
We
Okay.
put in, as we do in most houses, some security thing in the region of about €3,000, but any further security cost than that.
In the region of what?
€3,000.
3,000, okay.
Which would be a standard thing in terms
Yeah,
of.
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
any further security cost than that, we didn't bear.
I think the difficulty arises, and I would hope you learn from it, that a policy implementation is so important when it's outlined, that it should be implemented properly. And the difficulty remains now that the public purse, I believe, was affected during 2018 to 2025, considering that majority of the public, the ordinary Joe Soap, rent is increasing on a yearly basis, but someone who's Garda Commissioner and earns significant amount of money off of the state, that their rent didn't increase. I'll move on because that's extremely disappointing. In my own constituency of Cork North Central, you know, you mightn't actually be aware of the situation or the case, so you might have to refer back, and that's fine. A number of people, two people, who have come to me in relation to purchasing the old Garda station in Glantan, just outside of Mallow. And they have approached the OPW on a number of occasions about purchasing it. Their uncle themselves was previously the sergeant in Glantan. There's no longer a guard now stationed in Glantan. The house itself, like, it could be sold and it would be beneficial to the state. The OPW have told the two people that have approached me straight out that they're not going to sell it. So, like, nothing is being done with that right now. It could be a house. It was previously a house. So could I ask you please to go back and just look at the feasibility of selling that house, considering that nothing is being done with it currently. And I fundamentally believe that there's no plans for it, because there's never, more than likely at this stage, going to be a Garda station there anymore. It's extremely rural part of the constituency. So could I please ask that you'd go back and look at the feasibility of selling that property?
I'll get back to you directly on that, Deputy. I'm not familiar with the particular...
Yeah, and I appreciate that, yeah.
But just to make one point on that, Deputy, if I may, we do have protocols which govern how we dispose of properties.
Okay.
And we go through all those protocols. I can outline those in a note I give back to you.
Okay.
But we are bound by protocols on terms of how I dispose of those properties. Once they're vacated, they can give them back to us by Garda Síochána.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I just think like it would be very beneficial, you know, to the state, obviously, of course, if protocols allowed, you know. And just very quickly before we finish, could I just very quickly touch on the flood relief work for Middleton and why that isn't being completed or hasn't been completed?
Can I ask my colleague Jim Casey to talk about that, Deputy, if you don't mind? He's our flood relief director.
So, Deputy, just in relation to the Middleton Flood Relief Scheme, this scheme, you'll be aware of the impact of Storm Babette in 2003, October in Middleton, and that impact of that event required us to review the design standard. At that stage, we had a design for Middleton to bring forward to the Stage 2 planning stage, but the scale and impact of that event required us to review the design for Middleton. And so following the review of the event and relative to the proposed scheme design, we made some small modifications to the proposed scheme. We are currently at Stage 2 in the planning process for Middleton, and OPW has funded additional resources to Cork County Council to expedite the delivery on the Middleton scheme. Our next key milestone for Middleton is to submit for planning in Q3 of next year. I would say Middleton is one of the most complex projects in the state because it suffers from flooding from all four sources: tidal, fluvial, pluvial and groundwater. So it's a highly complex project, and total project budget is of the order of 56 million to protect up to 720 properties. So it's...
Do we have an estimation on a timeline of how long it's going to take?
Yeah, so, well, just broadly on flood relief schemes, they can typically take 10 to 11 years from start to finish. So we're into Stage 2 now, planning stage, and that can take anywhere from 1 to 2 years to come out of planning. Typically then you're talking about another year for detailed design, and then about 3 to 4 years construction phase. So that's broadly the timeline on it. What I would say as well on Middleton, we...
Conscious of the time, if you could just briefly...
Yeah, we've also invested 5.8 million in interim measures in Middleton in the form of individual property protection. So that's been rolled out. And we're looking to proceed to construction on an advanced element of Middleton next year, which is the Turtloon estate to the north of Middleton town, some advanced measures.
Thank
you. Thanks, Deputy Kenny.